The surprising sudden flooding in Qatar. How is that possible?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast to the protection against heavy rain and flooding by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
So the big challenge is, how can house owners like you and me get a flood-free home? How can business managers like you and me get a flood-free company? And how can public servants provide flood-free critical infrastructure and livable cities?
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe. This podcast is for foresighted and proactive people who do not want to shovel the muddy water out of their room while standing in the midst of the disaster.
Therefore, those who design and plan, the architects and engineers, need to construct such buildings and cities, and that even when the entire environment is completely flooded. That is a challenge, and this podcast will give the answers.
Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood, Andreas Klippe.
Yeah, today we talk about surprising sudden flooding in Qatar, but not only in Qatar, also in other countries who we know and which we know as countries in a desert, so deserted countries. As an example, in the Middle East, and some of you might now wonder and say, hey, it will never rain in these countries. And it is not true at all. I just came back from Qatar. It's a wonderful country and I always like to go there. It's one of my preferred countries, to be honest. There was a sudden flood again. But let's start at the beginning, because first we don't think that in desert areas there can be flood. We sometimes say, in my neighborhood, there cannot be flood because it was never raining so strong that the streets were flooded, and then suddenly it happens. And we all remember the flooding in the German valley of the Ahr, and also in Bad Münstereifel for the German people who know the regions very well. In July 2021, that was a so-called 100-year rainfall. And you remember in one of my last episodes, I said the 100-year rainfall statistic, it's a big bullshit. That is absolutely nonsense. Don't believe in that when it comes to the safety of your family or your buildings. So this German valley was terribly flooded with even almost 180 dead people in Germany and more than 220 all over Europe. At this time, Belgium also was hit very heavily, and they all said that never happened before. And the same was in Dubai. I will not run around the whole world today. Yeah, this episode is not made for that. But Dubai in the Middle East also has seen terrible flooding, and one happened just some weeks ago on November 18, 2023, and there was a terrible thunderstorm that has put the streets underwater, and basements, of course, and buildings. And Qatar was flooded in October 27, 2023, and in only 1 hour from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. There was one basement parking filled with water up to 4 meters. Can you imagine? It only took them 1 hour to flood the whole basement parking. And first let me explain a little bit who are these countries, and then we summarize it, and we will come to a conclusion. What does it mean for all of us, and what can we learn out of that? The so-called GCC, the Gulf Cooperation Council, was established in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia in May 1981. And these first I say what it is. There are six countries are the members, and the purpose of the GCC is to achieve unity among its members based on their common objectives and their similar political and cultural identities, which are rooted in Arab and Islamic cultures. Presidency of the Council rotates annually. That is what I took from Wikipedia, so it must be true. At the end, it is a kind of membership, and they try to improve the region. So what does it mean for the countries? Let's perhaps have a step back to... I talk about the countries first. There are 6 countries who belong to this GCC, Gulf Cooperation Council. And that is the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the Kingdom of Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, the United Arab Emirates, and Qatar. So these are the 6 countries. Now when it comes to these heavy rainfalls, you remember this 100-year rainfall. I was talking about it already, and that's a rainfall that would dwarf all other rainfalls in its extent. If there was a ranking of heavy rainfall, the 100-year rainfall would always win and be in first place. And this was often the case in previous centuries. Interestingly, the next heavy rainfall was usually a little heavier than the previous one. So a new champion was crowned each time. But we still talk about the 100-year rainfall. Huh? It is usually said that such a 100-year rainfall occurs exactly once in 100 years. However, this happens with devastating effects, excessive flooding and catastrophic devastation for the people living there. And the question now is, can such a 100-year rainfall occur there for the second time within the 100 years? Yeah, we are here in the world of statistics, and these statistics follow certain rules, and that are sometimes not so clear. Okay, I mentioned that already in one of my previous podcast episodes. The likelihood that the models simply no longer fit and are no longer correct will change such 100-year rains. And climate change is getting worse, so we will have to deal with increased rainfall in greater numbers. So it may well be that the 100 years will have to be reduced to 50, 20, or even 10 years, or 5 years. We should be prepared for this. Which are the consequences? If you trust the statistics, you might be flooded. Dubai was already flooded before by such a 100-year rainfall at December 31, 2021. That was the time of the World Expo. I was there at the World Expo, and I had the honor to make a speech together with my friend and senior architect and urban planner of Dubai in the late 70s, 80s, engineer, architect Felino June Palafox Jr. I was a junior partner of him, but we both talked, gave a speech at the World Expo. That was in March 2022. And just 3 months ago, on this December 31, 2021, there was a rainfall that flooded many parts of the World Expo and also parts of Dubai. And I think it rained 5 days without stopping. So there was already such a 100-year rainfall. And then this rainfall came again on November 18. So that is just, you can take your own, draw your own conclusion out of that when it comes to these 100-year rainfall things. For me, it is a stupid thing. We should not talk about it because the next time is always the worst time, and especially when it comes to climate change. For Qatar, it was the same. Qatar was flooded in October 2018. I will talk about that in a moment, about the consequences and what they did. And so they found a good solution at the end of the day. And yes, I was also included in that. So once again, if you trust the statistics, you might lose your house and inventory, because if Dubai and Qatar would have said after the rainfall in 2018 in Qatar and 2021 on December 31 in Dubai, that is a 100-year rainfall. For the next 99 years, nothing will happen. Then good luck. They were totally wrong, because they were hit again I mentioned that already. Dubai, November 18, 2023, and Qatar in October 27, 2023. Yeah, you remember 1 hour only to fill a basement parking by 4 meters. And by the way, 35 expensive cars were totally damaged. But not only that, I will discuss that in another episode. Which are the consequences? The consequences are that don't trust the statistics. That's number one. You might lose all your savings to clean up the mess, repair what is damaged, and to replace what was destroyed. And if you trust your drainage system, you might be lost as well. Don't do that, because drainage systems are not designed for such heavy rainfall. And if ever they are designed for it, they still might fail. And that was the case in these countries, because there was a lot of sand in the drainage, sometimes plastic. Qatar is very advanced already. You don't find plastic bags. There are plastic bags, but they are biodegradable. Even the fork. And in one cantina at the university, I was having a lunch and with my partner, Maria Fatima Uzi. And so we were eating together with the students and the professors, and as a fork and knife, they gave us a wooden fork and a wooden knife. Everything was biodegradable. However, the plastic bags as well are biodegradable, but they are still kind of plastic bags, so they still can clog the drainage system. Normally, you don't have waste in Qatar. It's a very clean country, similar to Seoul, but the sand will clog the drainage and will make it impossible that the water can disappear. And when you see the masses, the volume of water, these small drainages can never take it. They can never carry the water masses. So don't trust your drainage. So become independent from any statistic and do your own exercise by preparing a protection against flooding. And that is what Qatar has done after this terrible flooding in 2018. So they approached us, and in fact, I could help them in a way, and they were following at the end my design ideas and installing it, and finally it worked very well until now. But that is another story for another episode, and this approach is exactly what we're doing right now in Dubai. And still in Qatar, of course, and in Saudi Arabia as well, and in Oman. So these countries over there, and they are on a good way. And I will report about it. So let's come to the small conclusion: how high is the risk that you will have 99 years of peace after the 100-year rainfall? I think you can answer it by your own. Huh? So better prepare yourself, protect your buildings and your infrastructure, whether it is critical infrastructure or simple infrastructure. And please become independent of all drainages, that your basement parking will not be flooded like the basement parking in Qatar recently at this flooding issue on October 27, or many basement parkings in Dubai. And the list is endless. The same happened in Jeddah and in Riyadh and in Kuwait City as well, and in Muscat. Take Qatar Foundation, who said we should better protect our critical infrastructure in Doha Education City. Some remember still the football stadium in Doha Education City. It's still there, by the way. And I'm going to join the Asian Championship that they took place from middle of January until February. So I will be there. And I always like this Doha Education City Stadium. So once again, take Qatar Foundation, who is responsible for the safety and for all facility management in Doha Education City, headed by Her Highness Sheikha Moza, the mother of the Emir. So once they said that and decided to do something to protect the buildings, they did it. And now I can proudly say that my design is working well. I just got the confirmation of the vice president from Qatar Foundation, who said, Dr. Klippe, Your flood barrier design and your flood barriers did an amazing job by protecting our buildings against the danger of flooding. Wow, that was great, and it was really worth it to meet this gentleman. But that's another story for another episode of Flood Protection Secrets. I wish and hope for you that you make the right decisions when it comes to your personal flood protection. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to this podcast channel if you haven't already. Now it only remains for me to wish you a good day, do something with it. Maybe until the next podcast episode, I would be very happy. See you then. As always, stay safe and flood free. Your Andreas Klippe and the whole Flood Experts team.
That's it again with the new episode of Flood Protection Secrets, the podcast by Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe, German engineer, book author, and head of the Flood Experts. What can Dr. Flood Andreas Klippe protect for you? Anytime? Worldwide? Contact us or just click through to www.thefloodexperts.de/bonus. Detailed engineering, German quality, safe. Flood protection secrets. The secrets you'll want to unfold.
Don't forget, you're only one flood barrier away.
Subscribe to the season, and you'll never be late for an episode.